Check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Check all the platforms. So do Monday through Friday. No later than about 7:30 do I jump on these lives. So let me just get all the platforms checked real quick. Facebook, what's happening? Facebook. Hello.
Just get all the platform.
Facebook, we're good. Let me repost it.
Watch it.
Get over to LinkedIn. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Monday through Friday. We are going live, tackling turnover with teamwork, Move Swiftly podcast, the whole thing, what we do. Bundled up into one specific mindset, specific way of thinking.
Get over to LinkedIn,
LinkedIn, we're good. All right, now to YouTube. YouTube, we're good. Profit over ethic. Oh, let me get through this ad real quick.
Opportunities and a great place to live. Say hello to North.
All right, we're good. We're good to go. Good to go. Good morning, or good afternoon, whatever time of day it may be when you are listening to this. If you're new to my world, my name is Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator. And what I do, what I created, what the whole Move Swiftly brand is all about is taking the lessons that you learn on the football field, the teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field, and aligning them with businesses and business owners. So they have a staff, they have a group of employees that works as efficiently and as proactively and has the same eager and hunger and passion as a championship high school or youth football team. That is what we do around here in the Move Swiftly world. And we're right on point. Pretty much every day we tie it back into how to help business owners. And today we're going to be talking about this tug of war, this thing that goes on in the business world in which you have to figure out a solid mix. You have got to figure out how you're going to mix what's going to get you the profits versus what's actually ethical. It's ethical. What's an ethical thing to do? What's actually putting positive services, positive products, positive things out into the world that's going to improve situations. And there's a lot of examples I can give. This is something I could probably do multi-series episodes on. However, I'll stick to personal perspective and personal experiences that I've lived through with this. As you see right here on the thumbnail, this experience absolutely taught me everything I need to know. I mean, it was like a gateway into what has launched my business, launched my career, because I moved to South Florida to work for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. All right. A lot of people don't know that there's a separate thing. There's the Miami Dolphins, the business. There's the Miami Dolphins, the actual football organization, and then there's the Miami Dolphins, the foundation. And all three have certain roles, certain things that need to get done, and certain ways of generating revenue and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how that worked and how that shaped my mindset, and also sprinkle in a few other things as well that should give you the perspective that you need in terms of how to go about this thing day to day. Because this tug of war that we're discussing today, that we're going to be diving into today, it's a tug of war that happens every single moment. I'm not even going to say every single day. It's every single moment, every single transaction, every single opportunity, every single thing that you go through, and that you get my studio, my lighting and all that, right? Every single thing that you're going to do as a business owner, or as the manager of a business, as a person that's, responsible for hiring this one and hiring that one, you're going to be facing this trade-off. You're going to be facing this dilemma, trying to figure out how do I manage a relationship between what's profitable versus what is ethical. And I'm going to help you figure out how to properly manage all of that today. So before we get too deep into today's topic, let me just get through a few announcements here. We're back. We're actually back this weekend. It'll be March 15th. If you're interested in West Palm Beach, if you currently live in the West Palm Beach area and you are interested in free boxing lessons, simply hit that QR code that you see right there on the screen. And we do them every 2 weeks, 9 a.m. at a local park. Just contact me if you are interested in doing that. And also, like I mentioned, business owners, here to serve you. The Move Swiftly brand is about helping you all develop a system, putting a system in place that is going to allow you to create a staff of cohesion and bring people on that actually know how they're getting better, what they're all about, what it is they need to be doing to get better. That is what we do. So I need you to go to makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. No, well, before you go to makeyourmove.com, but based on what I'm showing you on the screen here, first go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com, and you can download a free guide as well. But again, I'm going to show you makeyourmove.com in a second. But freeguide.makeyourmove.com, I created 10 bullet point process in which you can use right now that you can implement right now, and you'll start to see transitions and start to see your business transform in a positive way. So again, first freeguide.makeyourmove.com, put in your information, and then go to makeyourmove.com, which actually, you know what, since I brought it up, I'll just bring it up now. Makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. That's your one-stop shop for all the teamwork and self-development needs. As you can see here, you can go shop now. You can join the Patreon community. You can book me to speak, or if you just want to say, who is this as one Crookshank that you speak about, just hit the about and learn more about as one right there. All three facets. Just go to makeyourmove.com, and we will get more information on me and all of the other things that I do and how I can continue to serve you. All right. So let's get right into today's topic, because there's a lot of ground that I have to cover. All right. The tug of war between profit and ethics. There's two things that we're going to have to do first. First of all, we're going to have to get a definition of the word profit, and then we're going to have to get a definition of the word ethics. And then I'm going to read you guys a little excerpt from a book that I partnered with 10 other authors on called The Six-Figure Athlete, where I explain to you guys the difference between revenue generating and money making. Understand there is a difference. There is a difference between revenue generating and money making, actual profit making. Knowing that difference is going to be a very, very significant thing as we move forward today. All right. Knowing the difference between. So first, let's get a definition of the word profit, and then we're going to get a definition of the word ethics. Ethical definition. All right, let's see. Ethical, good, and okay, good. Let's get them up on the screen first. All right. So first of all, profit, a financial gain, especially the difference between the amount earned and the amount spent buying, operating, or producing something. All right. So profit is very self-explanatory. It's how much money was actually gained. All right. If you run a business and let's say you have to pay for a printer. Let's say you have to pay for printer. Let's say you have to pay for office supplies, and that's going to run you $5,000 for everything that you need to buy for the business, for the business to actually run. And then you only sell, or let's say you sell $6,000 worth of products. That means your profit was $1,000. All right. Your profit, what you gained, because you spent the $5,000 on all the office supplies, and then you went around and only made $6,000 in the whatever you sold. It means your profit was only $1,000. That is the definition. It's a clear definition of profit. All right. This is important for you guys to understand, because again, as business owners, it's important to track what you're spending the money on before you go out and figure out what your price is going to be, what price point you're going to have, how you're going to charge it, who you're going to charge, who you're going to target. All of those questions need to be answered as you offer up your services, all right, and how you offer up your services, because you can think you have a great service, a great idea, a great thing that you want to do, and you're not realizing, hey, maybe I'm charging too little for it. Maybe I'm not, or I'm charging too much, or something there has to be a match there. There has to be a relationship, a correlation between what exactly you're spending your money on and then how much you're going to charge after you have figured that out. All right. So that's profit and ethical, relating to moral principles or branch of knowledge dealing with the, actually, let me make it a little bigger for you guys to see. Relating to moral principles or the branch of knowledge dealing with these ethical issues, basically saying what are you selling that is going to produce some sort of good. Let's say you are a person who sells winter coats. You sell winter coats to people who live in the Northeast during the winter. You sell winter coats for a price that's affordable price. Or you're like, I think the Burlington, like the Burlington Coat Factory, where you sell winter coats for a group of people, or for groups of people that are not able to afford it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You've figured out a way to sell these winter coats to people that are in a situation where buying a winter coat is going to be kind of a stretch for them, and you have figured out a way to make it so these winter coats are being put on people that need it, or like being put on people who are homeless, right? If they're homeless and they're out there in the winter, and you figured out ways to get a bunch of winter coats in some kind of way, and you're ethically doing something ethical because you're putting something positive out there that's actually going to be filling a need, and you're not looking to get completely rich off of it. All right. So relating to moral principles. So it's a moral principle, something that's morally, something that's right, something that you're doing for the sheer enjoyment of people, or because you are in a situation where you want to give back. You pretty much have a philanthropic view on how you are going about your business. So that's the difference. Profit versus profit and ethics. And one more thing before, actually, you know what? Let me read you the excerpt. So now that we have a definition of what the word profit and ethics mean, the tug of war. So let me give you a kind of a scenario here, because when you understand it, when you want to get in business and when you want to build your brand, so to speak, both of these things are equally important. But what starts to happen is, it tends to happen, and probably should happen in most cases, because as an owner, you're responsible for this, is a lot of people, if you're owning the business, eventually your time and your mindset is going to be consumed with the profit side of things, which is why what you're going to learn today, the takeaway is for you today, is that before you even get to the profit side, before you even get to the business side, you have a set of ethics, you have a set of principles that are instilled in you initially. So by the time the profit side comes, by the time it's time for you to make a profit off what you're doing, you have already had the moral principles in place that you're going to need in order for you to fight for your profits, right? In order for you to go after your profits, in order for you to go after your business, in order for you to go out and sell your products and go out and do what it is you really genuinely believe. You can't have it both ways. You can't get there too late. All right. This is important. This is an important concept to grasp. I'm gonna read the excerpt in a second, but I want to make sure I'm on the record stating this, that when you think about the tug of war and the thing that happens between profit and ethics and what you're actually going after as a business owner, you have to understand that before you get to the profit side of things, there needs to be an ethical stance, an ethical moral principle, and things that you believe in before you get there. All right. Me personally, one of the things I talk about all the time, and regular consumers have heard me say it 1,000 times, I take the lessons, the things that I genuinely believe, the teamwork lessons that I learned on the football field, right? It's documented right here in my latest book, Transferring D1. The things that I learned as a football player are the things that I'm able to apply to businesses now. The same kind of principles, the same showing up, working out with each other. You know, even if you may not like a certain teammate or you have an issue with somebody, you figure out ways to look past all that, go out, compete, get yourself better, take your losses. If you lost, if you don't know this, you don't know that, you go ask questions. All those sorts of things are learned on the field. And I believe in that. So I believe, right, when you believe in that, you can bump up you should, not can, you definitely need to be bumping up your price and making it so your high ticket offer, you're focusing on high ticket offers so you can make a damn profit. And if you don't do that, it's because you haven't done the ethical work on the inside. See, a lot of people hear the word ethics and they think charge less, right? That's why I actually brought up the example of somebody selling winter coats for less to charge, or less of what you would possibly charge for a winter coat. It's because the person probably had a deal where they're getting a bunch of winter coats off wholesale, and now they're going to charge it less for less. You know, they got a good deal on winter coats wholesale, and then they figured out a way to make it so they can charge less for winter coats to people that really need it and stuff like that. Now, if you could hook up a deal like that, then there's obviously an ethical viewpoint. The person must have been homeless before, or, you know, they used to be living in a colder place and they had to figure out how they were going to get coats. All sorts of reasons, all sorts of things from a person's past that leads them to kind of a philanthropic view on how they're going to go about doing things. But the clear thing, the thing that needs to be understood before I get to the book, the Six Figure, by the way, Six Figure Athlete, you can go to makeyourmove.com and get it right here. If you go to shop now, you can get the Six Figure Athlete right here. It's right here. Just make sure you go ahead and get a copy of that. Go ahead and do your thing, right? But the point is, the point that I was making before I got distracted there is that when you see people who see business owners, you see processes, you see significant systems and strategies that have an ethical viewpoint, it's because of something that went on in their heart, in their core, something that went on in their past that allowed them to be successful. All right. So that's first and foremost that needs to be mentioned. Now that we have that clear definition, let me tell you, let me go to my chapter. I was chapter, I believe it was 4. Chapter 4. So, balancing act. There it is. All right. So here it is. Right here. I'm showing it to you directly. Again, go get the book and read the full thing, because it's not just me. It's also other authors. All of them have been on the podcast too, by the way. So right here, I have it. The difference between money making and revenue generating. I'm going to read the whole thing to you. All right. It's time for me to bounce back. Now, before I even read it, I'll just let you know, I've seen it from the bottom. All right. You're going to hear it in the story, but I've lost absolutely everything. Car, phone, everything. I've hit absolutely rock bottom. And it's one of the best things to have ever happened to me, is to be able to see things from the bottom up and have not a penny, not one penny, credit in the shitter, car repossessed, absolutely lost everything. So I spoke on it from that perspective, right? So the difference between money making and revenue generating. It was time for me to bounce back. Going broke and hitting rock bottom sucks, but if used correctly, it can be the best thing that happens to a person. I was determined to make it something I can look back on Hold on, I'm make sure I'm reading the right part here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure. Yes, it is. All right. So I was determined to make it something I can look back on and use it as fuel to forge ahead. I only have a chapter to share, so I won't go into because like the reason I only have a chapter in this book, and the chapter is make a connection, and you hear me say it in the chapter that I can go on a tangent. I can write a whole book just on the concept of the difference between money making and revenue generating. So I wanted to kind of filter myself or cut myself off as I was writing. I remember now as I was writing this, and this is the power of writing and reading and putting stuff down on paper, and allowing the stickiness to it, allowing it to be something that holds weight. In fact, just yesterday, I took I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, and we took them to something called the Flagler Museum. And I was moved because as we're walking through the museum, now Henry Flagler, he's a great entrepreneur, is one of the people that helped build Florida into the destination town that it actually is, the travel destination that it actually is. And I was there, and I'm seeing books that are like centuries old that have been there for years, and they are in the museum. And it was absolutely inspiring. Absolutely inspiring. All right, I keep getting distracted. Let me get through I'm just gonna read you a little bit of it so you understand the difference, and then we're gonna dive into how exactly this applies to you and how this helps you. All right, so here we go. When you're making connections, you will recognize the subtle difference between entities that work for a profit and organizations that simply generate revenue because of popularity. Therefore, it's essential you notice the difference, because that difference creates the need for people like you or me who want to be a part of something they truly believe in. Here it is. Nike, a for-profit business. They create products that consumers buy, and they make a profit. However, the University of Alabama's football program is revenue generating. The primary focus of the program is to win championships, not make money. The revenue is generated through fans, ticket sales, merchandise sales, and sponsorship. It's the connection between fans, or in this case, boosters or alumni, right? That leads to the ticket sales being bought. That leads to tickets being bought and merchandise being sold. When you have a revenue generating operation, it makes for-profit businesses partner with you. Nike is a sponsor for the University of Alabama. Okay, so do we get the difference now? We get the difference. All right, you have a game, you have a program like the University of Alabama's football program, or you name the college. It could be, I'm a huge Michigan fan, so I have to mention Michigan, but you could say Michigan, you could say USC, you could even, since we're in March Madness now, you could say Duke basketball, can say any program, UConn women's basketball, in the women's game, whatever it is you want to, whatever program you want to call that, generates a lot of interest that people believe in. I mean, families actually were raised in. In fact, I was just listening to some. There was Bryce Underwood was on Rich Eisen's show. Right now, we're getting closer and closer to the draft. And obviously, all these mainstream media folks out there, the only thing they're going to talk about is what quarterbacks are going to do, and quarterback this and quarterback that. And again, this is why you need to go to Film Session Saturday, where I break down the game in full. We don't just talk about what the quarterback goes through. We talk about what the DNs are doing, what the three techniques doing. We're talking about what the tight ends are doing. We're talking about what the O-line's doing. We're talking about how the running back is blocking. We're talking about everything when you hear the way I break down the game of football. But these quote unquote experts on TV are only talking about the draft, right? They're only talking about quarterbacks in the draft, right? So anyway, they brought up Drake May, and I believe he did have a sort of a decent year. He had a decent year with the Patriots, but Drake May, his father, Drake May came out of the University of North Carolina, and his father, Sean May, I remember actually watching, let me see if I can pull up a picture real quick just to give you guys some context here. Sean May and Drake. Yep. Yeah. This is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean. This is, let me make sure I have it correct real quick. Sean May, UNC, and his son. Right. I think it's his son. So anyway, yeah, they brought up Drake May, and Drake May is the, let's see, Sean and Drake May. Yeah, yep, this is it. Yep, exactly. I know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so let me show you real quick. So you get it, and this I'm only bringing this up because we're around March Madness, but this kind of stuff where father, sons, you get guys that played ball. He played his basketball. You had one of them, Luke May. It wasn't Sean May. It was Luke May. Played his basketball in North Carolina, and then his son goes on and plays football there. And you have programs like this that families are built on. You have programs that have huge fan bases, not just fan bases. Now we're talking about alumni. Now we're talking about boosters. We're talking about media connections. In fact, just this, I meant to bring this up, but I kind of got sidetracked with other stuff. But if you go back to last Saturday when I watched the Duke versus North Carolina game, it was a win, not just on the basketball court for Duke. All right. So Duke, obviously, they dominated the game. They go into UNC and they handled their business. And, a lot of people expected them to be, they expected them to win because their expectations are, they look like the team to beat this year for the most part. But they were winning off the court as well. You had Jay Bayless, who was doing the play-by-play. A Duke grad, and every time I watch Duke, I think about this because you have Jay Billis, right? He's doing the play-by-play. He was doing the play-by-play for the Duke game, and he's a former Duke player. You had him doing the. Let me pull all this kind of stuff up. See, I got a team doing that for me while I'm talking, but Jay Bayless is doing he's doing the play-by-play for Duke, and then you had Jay Williams, who was also a former Duke player, who was doing the commentating. He was doing the commentating like in the middle of that Duke versus North Carolina game. And then right after Duke wins, you had their main guy, JJ Redick, a former Duke player, like the big Duke player. He's the head coach of a Lakers team, and they played literally right after the Duke North Carolina game that Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday, right? So understand, when you have a program that is generating revenue, and again, Duke, University of North Carolina, Alabama, you name the program, they're not here to make money. It's not a money-making thing. The revenue is being generated. Because of the popularity, because of how much comes with it, because of how much they represent to certain people. All right. Then the booster dollars come. The media members come, the sponsorship dollars come, the advertising dollars come. They're now strategizing in certain ways of where businesses can put their advertisements, whether they're putting advertisements on scoreboards or putting advertisements on the floor, all sorts of things. Again, the reason I'm having this discussion with you right now is because we are just a couple of days away from Selection Sunday, and we're going to have March Madness. And when you see the kind of revenue that tournament creates, it is so important that you understand the difference between the two. There are two sides to this. All right, there's levels to this game, as the young boys in them like to say, right? There's levels to this, knowing that what lane are you in, what are you going to be about, and you got to really have a system and a strategy in place in which you know what business you're in, right? So one of my favorite books, actually, whenever I bring this kind of stuff up, I try to give you guys some context with a picture. One of my favorite books is by Dean Smith. Yes, a coach's life. This is it, right? Strongly recommend you guys, especially if you're in the sports, strongly recommend you guys go get a copy of this book by Dean Smith, A Coach's Life, where that is Michael Jordan when he was in North Carolina, and he broke it all the way down in this book, because he talked about how he hated the fact that he's coming up during a time where the obviously it wasn't as much media attention. Obviously things weren't as big as they are now. There wasn't commercials and doing all this stuff. I if I'm not mistaken, Capital One. Yeah, Capital One is the one of the main sponsors. We're always seeing these damn Capital One commercials when you're watching March Madness and all that. So obviously things have changed. But I remember him talking about in that book, he was talking about how he hated the fact that bear advertisements were on college campuses. These were things that he just didn't like, and he expressed that in the book, that you have bear advertisements when college kids are playing basketball, promoting the game of basketball. But hey, Budweiser got the cash, Bud Light got the cash, they taking it, right? So where do we get there? Where exactly as a business owner do we draw the line between profit and ethics? And let me just break it down in terms of my perspective, because like I said, I can do case by case with this. I can go situation after situation after situation after situation with this. I came up in the football world. I know the world of football. As a player, I'd say you are so distracted from distracted by a good thing, a good distraction, because you're so focused on playing that you are so blind to the business that's going on around you. I swear, because you're playing, and the majority of people who play the game of football or basketball, the majority of us, we're not getting paid to play the game. The majority of people who play it are not getting paid. So what actually keeps them coming back is this focus on how do I get better. The biggest transition is when you get a job now, when you're done playing, and now the bills are getting high. You got a mortgage, you got, things that you got to be providing for your family. Now your mindset shifts to focus. In fact, I didn't plan on playing any clips today, but I remember my high school coach, Coach Bob Malloy, making this point and clearly stating it. So let me pull this up really, really quick. I'm telling you, I'm gonna just stay with me on this, but I want to make sure you guys understand where I am. Let's see, is it here? Because I remember it was yes, I believe this was it. Hold on 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I know
I said, pick me up. I'm on my grind. Cause that's all we know.
And all of them, no, of course. But, if we can get to, if it's a job to them, when you start talking money.
All right, this is it.
The important thing is loyalty, and desire, and
hold up.
You retire to something.
Okay, this is it. All right, this is it. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna get into. But this is my high school coach, by the way, Coach Bob Malloy, the guy who retired with the most wins of any high school football coach. He coached me I was on varsity pretty much 3 seasons, because I was JV and then I got moved up to varsity. So 3 straight years in high school. He was the reason I actually went to good counsel, and he retired about 4 or 5 years ago now, with the coach with the most wins of any high school football coach. And the question is going to get posted here about what it really means to do something that feels like an ethical responsibility versus doing something that's profit driven. And then I'll get into more specific examples of something that I actually lived through when I eventually worked for the Dolphins. I eventually got a position with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. So let me make sure the sound is all the way up. All right, cool. Go.
And I'm lucky. I just love what I do. 51 deep. Perfect path. Well, somebody told me a long time ago, you don't retire from something, you retire to something. I don't have the two yet. I mean, I'm not a golfer, and I do football every single day, whether it's ordering jerseys or socks or something, I do it every single day and, all year round. And it's what I do. And, I enjoy talking to the coaches. I've been coaching longer than some of these guys have been alive. And, some of these young guys, but, you learn something from everybody, everybody. And I enjoy that very much. And I think, when that point comes, I think I'll know right away if it's getting old, it's maybe time to think about packing it in. But, I've just.
Wait, that wasn't it. I mean, I can listen to the interview all day, but there's actually this one. Yeah. Not that. It was young coaches. This is it.
It's an individual thing. I mean, some people, it's like you get in the
it.
blood, and just got to do it. And
Pay attention now.
I just heard a story just the other day. A guy was a stockbroker and was making, six figures, but he just didn't like it. He didn't like being in an office. He liked being outside. So he went out and got his degree, teaching degree, and volunteered to coach high school. So,
Six figures.
I mean, it's just, if that's what you love to do, then you got to pursue it. And if you don't, then, if you're in for the money, it's the wrong profession, I think, because if you ever actually try to figure out an hourly wage for coaching and all the stuff that we do, I mean, it'd probably be $1 an hour, and it never seems, there's always something to do. And we're lucky. I mean, nowadays we got the turf fields. I mean, the old days, we had to cut the fields, line the fields, get them ready for the game. And so, and the DVDs save you a lot of time. So there's a lot of great improvements that have happened over the years. But, really, you got to love it and you got to want to do it. You just can't do it as a job because, a job is exactly that. It's not fun. It's work. And, to me, it's my job, but it's not work. I mean, I enjoy coming to work every day, so it's, and I'm lucky. I just love what I do. 51 deep.
All right, right there. I wanna pause. I'm gonna cut it off right there because the example of a stockbroker making six figures who just didn't matter how much money he had, just couldn't take it anymore. He walks into his office one day, couldn't take it anymore, goes out, gets his teacher degree, and then just starts coaching high school ball. That's the tug of war we're talking about. This is where we gotta now we gotta start to focus on the individual. Now we gotta start to focus on how are you gonna go about structuring your move every moment, structuring your day-to-day every moment. And it has got to come from a pure place. Let me give you an example. My own life. Again, I could give a lot of them, but I'm just gonna stick to this one. I'm gonna stick to the position that I was able to get with the Miami Dolphins because with this organization right here, I had no idea that this position even existed until I actually not only got the job, but actually was there and seeing how the whole thing worked. All right. So myself, as I've mentioned several times throughout this entire episode today, I am a football guy through and through from 7 years old all the way through to 22, only missing 1 year because of a torn ACL. But I've been in it as a coach, as a player, as a coach, as a scout, you name it. Even now, as a person that breaks down the game and has something called Film Session Saturday. The goal is actually to become a play-by-play announcer for some college football games as of the fall of 2025. So I'm in it, love it, right? When it came time for me to hang up the cleats and when it came time for me to graduate, the only job, the only profession, the only thing that I wanted to do or even thought I had any ability to do was coach football, obviously, for obvious reasons. And the crazy part about it, and this is what I mean when I say you're so blinded with the business around you, we're so blinded with, you're focused on playing, which distracts you from all of the business stuff that goes on around you. And the men that I've been coached by, the programs that I played for, they did an unbelievable, just a fantastic job in making it so we as players just went out and played. I'm speaking for myself specifically. We just went out and played and really didn't pick up on all of the business that's actually happening around us and allowing us to just go out and do what it is we want to do, right? So because of all that, once I graduated, my goal was to coach in the NFL. My goal was to become the next Vince Lombardi, right? Go coach in the league, go scout, go either GM or, be someone that's coaching in the NFL or have those connections because at the time, 22 years old, at the time it felt, or I thought I looked at it as that was something that is a pay grade above, or like I was trying to align something that is a revenue generating thing, like I just mentioned, which is football, the game of football, which is revenue generating. And I was aligning that revenue generating thing with what I thought was a profit making thing, a money making business. And the two don't equate. This is why every single season, every single year, you see a ton of coaches getting fired over and over and over again, because the idea of someone becoming an assistant coach and then going to becoming a coordinator, becoming a head coach, that is not the right way to bring people in. It is not at all the right way to bring folks in. If somebody's let's say you're a great offensive line coach, that's it. That is the career. There should be no incentive. There should be nothing that really makes a person want to go and now become an offensive coordinator. That's the wrong mentality. You, as an offensive lineman, you've been an offensive lineman your entire life, go coach the offensive line. And I'm saying if it's feasible, if you're making just as much money just being an O-line coach, be happy being an O-line coach. The only time it starts to turn into something in which, you feel like you're climbing up this corporate ladder is when business starts taking over, right? Profit starts taking over, what we're looking at here. That's what throws a lot of people off. And there's a lot of former coaches, and Dean Smith has discussed it in the book I showed you before, in which they make the wrong move. They make that mistake of thinking that it's the same thing as a corporate climb up, when it is not. It is not. And I had to learn this. All right. Stay with me. Right. So I had the goal. Of working for an NFL franchise, an NFL team, before turning 30. And I graduated college at 22 years old. And the goal was not big enough. All right. I did not set my goals high enough. And I tell people this, I'll tell young cats this all the time. And I will tell you as a business owner, please hear me from my heart on this. Set your goals high. Set your standards absolutely high. Know what business you're in, know how to excel, know how to get better, and set the bar ridiculously high for yourself, especially if you're talking about the young 22 college graduate, which is what I was. So my goal was, and again, I thought I was actually doing that, but I didn't realize that, the NFL was not some high, to go work in the NFL was not some high, crazy goal that you could look at. I looked at it like that because I came up in the football world and it looked like that, but it really wasn't. And I should have, looking back on it, I should have had some understanding of that, seeing that I graduated the year that the NFL lockout is 2010, right? So the NFL lockout was going on. This was the longest work stoppage in NFL history. And I couldn't just go apply for it because no one was working, right? Everyone was locked out. I mean, the players they wanted this, and the coaches wanted this, GMs wanted this, ownership wanted this. All sorts of things were going on when I graduated and wanted to work in the NFL, right? So, as a way of getting my foot in the door or just learning the skill and building my resume, I became a scout, because being a scout was the only way. It's a gateway of getting to the NFL, is to be a scout, or becoming an NFL GM, or becoming a coach. Becoming a scout is like the entry level position where you go out and you scout ball. So I found an opportunity to be an independent scout, independent college scout, in which I worked for all sports. Or I was I was a scout for all sports, and I worked for a company that did all the sports, girl sports, male sports, doesn't matter. Just go out and recruit. The only thing is it was just commission work, and I had to work at a gym and all that stuff. Again, that's a story that I can't even dive into because it'll take me down a different path. Long story short is, by the time I turned 28, I was 28, and I moved to Florida because I knew what my goals were. I knew what my passion was. I knew I was very passionate about football. I was very passionate about fitness. And those were the two areas in which I wanted to figure out a way to align those two areas and build a career through that. More specifically being with an NFL team, because the NFL team obviously had the money to pay me enough to live, living wage and all that. And fitness, the fitness world is very shaky, very flimsy world and all that kind of stuff. So working at Orange Theory, and I got a job offer. Well, I got a position. I don't even know how. I think I put my email out there. I'd sent something was going on. I sent a resume. I might have just sent the resume to the Miami Dolphins, and it got pushed to the Miami Dolphins Foundation. They saw I had some sales experience, this, that, and the third. And, because even though it was just a part-time position with the Miami Dolphins, I was like, look, I said before 30, I want to be with an NFL team. I just turned 28, so no questions asked. I go, I take it. It's part-time, and then I have to go work at another fitness facility full-time. So a full-time, part-time thing is actually part two. Technically, it was kind of just two part-time jobs that I was making work in South Florida. Don't ask me how I was doing it, but just figured it out. Right? This is why, again, I'm the entrepreneur. This is why I had a ton of experience, been around the block, right? So anyway, what the job was with the Miami Dolphins Foundation was that we were sellers. All right. I tell folks all the time, being a seller is a force multiplier. If you learn to sell, you can do whatever it is you want to do in your life. If you have a position where your job is based on strictly numbers, strictly how much you sell, and you go out and you sell what you need to sell, you will get better. That is a guarantee. It's an issue with a lot of folks too. All right. A lot of folks run from sales. All right. You don't want to get rejection. You don't want to get told no. All right. If you've lived in that life where you were, so that was the actual job title, was a seller for the Miami Dolphins. I had to go and I had to sell these 50-50 raffle tickets that was being documented. My name was attached to a number, and the 2 seasons that I did it, I was one of the top sellers with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. And between year 1 and year 2 is really where I'm trying to get you to. Again, I know it took me 45 minutes to get you there, but it's important that you guys heard all the entire context. All right. Between year 1 and year 2 with the Miami Dolphins is exactly where I want to get you all. All right. Understand everything you heard about me leading up to this moment. There was already a moral goal. There was already a principle. There was already something instilled in me. There was already a mindset instilled in me in which I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then the opportunity presented itself based upon the principles that I was already standing on. It could have been the damn Tampa Bay Buccaneers Foundation. It could have been the Jacksonville Jaguars Foundation. It could have been the Commanders Foundation. It could have been the Giants Foundation. It didn't matter what foundation in the NFL it was. It could have been a damn Miami Heat Foundation. It could have been any professional sports team foundation. The principles were already in place, and I was going to go on. I was going to hit my numbers. The only thing is the reason it was the Miami Dolphins Foundation is because I eventually wanted to live in South Florida. In South Florida, myself being raised in a Caribbean household, loving the whole football landscape and all that, and also loving the Hispanic, the South American women and all that. I'm like, look, South Florida is where I want to plant my flag and where I want to be and park the As-1 Crookshank bus, right? So this opportunity became a bigger deal. Now, year 1, there was the organization, the Miami Dolphins Foundation, that was headed by a certain group of people, and our job was to simply raise money for certain events that were going to get put on throughout the year. And it was based upon how much money we can raise during the games, which is what led to the position of a seller. Now, the next year was when they merged departments. Let me pull it up real quick. It's called. Hold up, I got you. All right, so I remember the next year we get there for the orientation, and we see a lot of familiar faces. We saw them. Let me see. Yeah, right here. All right. So yes, this was it. This is exactly what happened, because I'll never forget this. So this when I got there for my second season to be a seller with the foundation, these were the folks that I saw in the meeting. And I remember the person who hired me said, all right, so we're doing something a little bit different this year. Basically, what we've done is we've taken the staff for the Dolphins Cancer Challenge and the foundation staff, and we've merged them into one. Because their role is 365 days out of the year is to simply raise money for this event. In fact, this guy, Chris, right here that you see, he actually had before he got there, he was the person that ran Max Cycle. Let me pull it up too. Yep, Max Cycle and Fitness in Miami. He was the person that was running that place, and then eventually, because he was like one of their main like sponsors, Max Cycle Fitness. Looks like the website's down or something like that, unless it's me. But you guys can see it, right? You guys can see it. Max Cycle Fitness. You can go check them out. Wonder if hopefully they're still around. Yeah, they're still around. Right there, 68 years, family owned bike store. You can see it right there. So this person, Chris, he used to work for Max Cycle, and I was working for the Dolphins Cancer Challenge, raising money for the organization. And when it comes to that event now, I was so new to the event. I didn't know anything about it. Again, I'm looking at football and I'm like, yo, I'm selling, but I'm looking at the GMing, or I'm looking at coaching, looking at maybe doing some scouting, transitioning to the football side, or even working in the youth program side where I'm doing some football related stuff. I had no idea that these type of positions actually existed. And this is where I want to take you in terms of the ethical component to what you do. Is the Miami Dolphins is a huge organization. It's a huge organization. And what they have done with their platform and all the interest that they get is they said, okay, let's build something that's going to fill a huge need in the community. All right. And I remember so once I left the Miami Dolphins Foundation, like as an employee, I decided that I was going to compete in that actual the bike ride. I did the 30-mile one from Miami all the way to Hard Rock Stadium. And I remember, the way it worked is we stopped at Hard Rock Stadium, and then we took a bus all the way to it was near Max Cycle actually. And, we got our bikes and we started our bike ride all the way to Miami Gardens, where the stadium is located, right? So I remember as we were going on the bus to Miami, and there were people who do it regularly. The reason it's the number one fundraiser, and they raise it. Actually, let me pull up the numbers here real quick so you guys see how much money they actually raise. And it's for a good cause, because 100% of the money goes to support. It goes to the Sylvester Cancer Center. Goes all the benefits goes towards them. Look at these are the numbers that people are raising, and since 2010, it's 75 million. I mean, a lot of money that this one event raises. And I remember I was talking to some people that have done it regularly when it was my first time going, and they were like, yo, man, you're going to see Miami, the community, come together in a way that you have never seen. Good-hearted people that want to give towards something great, want to be a part of something great. And that's what I mean when I say the ethical viewpoint, because there's not one person in the entire world who doesn't know someone, doesn't have a family member, hasn't had a situation in which they have not been affected by cancer. Every single person in this world has been affected by cancer in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So with their platform, they decided, okay, the ethical thing to do is to use it so we can build out a staff, build out a department that simply and we pay these people. We pay these people a salary. We pay these people something so they can simply raise money all day for the organization and get creative. And then that completely changed my world. Every move I've made since then, it completely changed, because I started to realize how small I was thinking in terms of just thinking, all right, I'm just going to go get a job working as a football coach or a football GM or a football scout and only focusing on the game of football. That's a revenue generator. Nah, let's focus on building our profits so we can be more ethical, so we can have more of a philanthropic view. This is what this brand has been all about. It was around that time where I wrote the first book, Swiftly, right? It was around that time where I was gaining knowledge about how to really merge and develop this solid mix of profit and ethics. That's what you have to do. So the question now becomes, the thing that you have to take away as I close you guys out is, how do you apply that in your business, and what is actually something that makes sense? This is where a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people get it wrong right here in this point I'm making, is what's actually going to make sense. What's going to make sense for your organization to put your name behind and then put this event on. See, the Cancer Challenge makes sense for the Miami Dolphins because the Miami Dolphins have the capacity, they have the stadium, they have South Florida. There's a ton of cash, there's a ton of opportunity out here in South Florida that will make it so the Sylvester Cancer Center, so many things that are in place that makes it so it makes sense for us because there's a profitable thing that can be done, but we're not just depending on that one thing for the profit. We're going to make it so there's an ethical element to it. So we'll continue to do it over and over again. And those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. All right. So just to recap today we're discussing tug of war between profit and ethics. Remember, profit is the idea of something gained, financial gain. Ethics are the idea of a moral code that you live by. Understanding too, there's a difference between revenue generating and money making. Understand that difference and know how to align the difference between the two. So you as a business owner don't get caught in a situation where you're giving up profits or you're giving up ethics, but you've been able to have a certain tug of war in which you have a good mix of doing both, so you can keep your people employed and you can actually put a product out there, put a service out there that's actually going to be beneficial to not only yourself, not just yourself, but to a lot of the folks that depend on you to make great decisions. All right. So all that being said, again, makeyourmove.com, one stop, makeymove.com. It's a one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. If you see it here, it's shop now. You can book me, join the Patreon community, book me to speak, whatever it is, all of that is there in one-stop shop, makeyourmove.com. Just go there for more information. It's been great, man. This has been great. It's been great to kind of go back that memory lane. I get a lot out of these live streams, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Just know we're going to just keep going, man. Keep going, and keep going. All right. So if you're one out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.